All right, Mr. Paul, this is going to be your demo video. Let's get started. So, I'm pretty excited because we have the removable chamber um, and the removable battery with it, 28 millimeter bass speaker. It's operable just by itself with the power button and aux button here. I shaved off a little bit of this little edge here so that the kill switch is a lot more accessible for just your finger instead of having to find like a like a little wedge thing or little tool to get to it. um, and the what's great about it is this size. This is the size that works with their special vented pommel cap. And for those who don't know, there is a difference because the non-special pommel cap, this threaded edge, it is in the pommel. It's basically there's no lip. It's a flush thread in. But on their special cap, there's this extra, I don't know if you can see it, but there's that extra little edge because these are two pieces. So what that did was an upside and a downside. The upside is that the speaker in this is not sitting flush on the pommel cap. The downside is it does shorten the length of the chassis space, especially if you're trying to do a 28 millimeter speaker. So I have a chassis that is a little longer for the non-special, and then the shorter one for the special. Okay, now here's the other exciting part. So that chassis, for everybody who doesn't know or who's just tuning in, that chassis not only have I designed it to work with the 7Chambers crystal chamber, but it's also going to work with the crystal chamber that I'm partnering with Rudy Pando on to make the hilt, the Hero, and their 7Chambers V2 to feel like one solid hilt while you open it and display the chamber, just like in his that he does with Roman's props. The reason why I set out to do that was because I'm not crazy about the inner dimensions of the Roman's props hilts when you use his chamber. I wanted you to have this much space in there while using a chamber like his design. I won't get into details on that. There's going to be more coming. But on this, so we did a PCB on the bottom here. I had to go with a crude install for you, Paul, because I could not design a PCB in this space. It was just so incredibly thin. I figured it would just break because it's so thin anyway. So I insulated the base like a lot, and I covered the nuts that hold in the 3 rods that hold this chamber together, and then I secured the PCB directly to the insulation, and then I put enough E600 that this thing is it's solid. It ain't going anywhere. So in the future, if you ever needs to be replaced or anything, then I can use Chris Adams. He designed a PCB and he flattened it so that so that the PCB sits flush in that base. It's not a whole lot of room. The wire tunnels, I did have to drill on an angle to open up the channel a little bit inward so that the wires weren't going up and over and then down in for the LED I put in here, and you know, getting sliced by that sharp edge, so I had to shave it off. And then we've got another one at the top here. So we got bottom and top, which then makes this unthreadable. And from what I'm told, this is also going to fit the 7Chambers V2. So with this design, you can have one chamber from them. You can have one power pack. For the cost of basically one install, you can have two hilts that fully operate if you get the MoM, Hero, and the Luke V2 from them. That's why I'm so excited about this. That's why I'm so excited about the other chamber I'm designing, because it too is going to be able to be thread in and out with a slight modification to the grenade section of the hilts. I'm hoping that this takes off in the way that 7Chambers will adopt this tiny modification to the grenade sections on their own for any future hilts, or future reruns of the hilts, so that I don't have to offer the service of doing that tiny mod, or people just having to do it at home. But anyway, Paul, this is for your demo. So I'm really excited too, because in your chamber here, I put some gold mesh in the back sections there, and then I put some of that silver mesh right here. And then for everybody who's watching that doesn't know, Paul decided to go with a very special crystal. This is actually from a meteorite that crash landed, I think he said in Ukraine. And he's got multiple shards of it. One is in his wedding ring, and one is here in his crystal chamber. Upside to that is that's really super unique and super cool. Downside is that the glow doesn't go fully through and shine a whole lot, and I'll demonstrate that, but it's pretty cool. All right, and then again, so that the connectors meet the females, they're flush up there. I heavily insulated the inside. I put some insulation even on the further sides here, so that when you're threading in the pommel, the chassis, doesn't really need to wiggle a lot. But when I put that paint on here, it did kind of catch it a little bit, so you might have to sand it down and try again. There is a slight wiggle, but we can figure out how to deal with that. So yeah, let's fire this bad boy up. Oh, and then don't forget, we've got your control box reveal. Oh, you know what? I didn't, hang on. I didn't show you. I didn't power this up by itself. So, I'm a Jedi. Got a little accent down there, which is pretty cool. Put some accent pieces from the control box reveal in here, so it kind of matches a little bit. Some metal accents on the side here. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. I'm gonna kill the lights really quick. Well, their proximity, so it's hard to get them all to shut off. All right, there we go. Oh, yeah, they all shut off now. So in the dark, you know, it does show quite a bit. And of course, you got color change. Let's go back to the green. Sorry if I'm moving too fast too, by the way, guys. Now, the fun part is it's hard to see in the dark. Let's get the pommel cap on here. Okay. Grenade section. What a beauty. This thing's very sensitive. And there is your emitter. More color change. It plays music. Just so I don't get copyrighted. I am gonna have to turn the lights on very briefly again so I can then get the blade in and we can demo the blade. I want to show you here too. So I do like lubricating the threads, but I will say doing it to the emitter does get a lot of goo in the cap thread. So you got your, and I insulated that. So you've got your stock PCB there. I went pretty high so that you could have a really deep recess in your recess blade. And look at the depth on that. Really deep. So, oh, and I don't know if this was just machined this way, but for those of us in the hobby, just so everybody knows, I didn't have to sand down the blade to fit in the emitter. Almost all of the other Luke hilts I've ever worked on, I've always had to sand these to get the blades to fit. From the factory, it looks like they designed it so that you don't have to sand it to get it to fit and be snug, which is great. I still sanded the rest of this so that it shines better, but I left this alone at the bottom here. Okay. Let me throw this in. Hang on. I will be right back in the video. All right, let's see if I got it in. Oh yeah. Wow. It is still gluing, so excuse the blade tip. All right, let's turn the lights off. Cool. Oh yeah. And we went with the KR Sabers pixel strip, which hats off to KR, man. It is such an easier install than you know, just a regular strip you roll out from a roll like on Amazon or something. Just the way that they did the connections, and the brightness is definitely substantially brighter. And then we went with the bullet tip, and I put the stock PCB with the onboard LEDs there, so you got a little extra shine at the emitter. Oh, let's do a color change. My bad. Yeah. So bright. Oh man, that's really deep. Let's get back to the Luke green. Oh, and then also for those of you who maybe have noticed that the other slight downside about the KR strip is that it is a little heavier, but there's a way to deal with that. Well, not the weight, I'm sorry. Being that it's heavier, you can sometimes feel it wiggle in there when you swing it around. So what I did was I slipped the foam tube directly onto the strip. Then I put the diffuser tube over that, and then I wrapped the cellophane around the diffuser tube, and I put so much on there that it made it really tight, and you don't feel anything. This is a solid blade. So that was pretty exciting. And yeah. You've got Luke, Return of the Jedi, and then what else we got here? Ah, yeah, we've got Kylo. It's a little sensitive because you went with that bass speaker. I could turn the volume down so it's not so sensitive on the Kylo. Ay, ay, ay. So sensitive. Oh. Yeah, definitely sensitivity, and that bass speaker you decided to go with is might need some fine tuning.
Legacy of the Jedi is failure, hypocrisy, hubris. At the height of their powers, they allowed Darth Sidious to rise, create the Empire, and wipe them out.
So this is the creepy Uncle Luke, or Jake Skywalker that I designed. That phrase from The Last Jedi. It's probably the only phrase or script, part of the script that I like in that whole stinking movie. And then we went with responsive delay on this one. What else we got?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Old Ben. And then last, but certainly not least, Daddy Vader. All right, I think that covers everything. Yeah. Once I get a moment, I will fine tune the sensitivity, so we don't have any of those like false clashes. Um, and yeah. Otherwise, Paul, she's ready. May the force be with you guys. Please stay tuned for more updates on my crystal chamber swap project.